The research ship Aurora moved slowly through the field of broken metal and twisted steel. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the debris float past her ship's windows. 300 years ago, this had been Earth's last line of defense against the Vrak Empire. Now it was just junk scattered across space. "Another dead ship on the port side," called out Navigation Officer Ryan Hayes from his station. "Looks like a human destroyer. Pretty beat up, but the hull is still in one piece." Elena nodded. This was their 5th day searching through the wreckage. The Galactic Coalition had sent them here to find old technology, weapons, anything that might help in their current war against the Skreth pirates. The Coalition needed every advantage they could get. "Take us closer," Elena ordered. "Dr. Thompson, what do you think?" Dr. Marcus Thompson looked up from his scanner. He was a tall, thin man with graying hair and eyes. He had spent most of his life studying the ruins of dead civilizations. "The ship's power core is dead, but the hull integrity looks good. Might be worth a look inside." The Aurora's crew was mixed like most Coalition ships. Elena was human, one of the few thousand left in the galaxy. Ryan was human too, but Dr. Thompson came from New Terra, one of the outer colonies. The ship's medical officer, Dr. Lisa Shang, was also human. But half the crew were aliens, Zentarians with their blue skin and 4 arms, insectoid Kethver with their clicking speech, and even a few of the peaceful Dalit with their gray, hairless heads. "Dr. Zakth, what are your sensors picking up?" Elena asked the ship's science officer. The Kethver clicked his mandibles together, a sign he was thinking. "Interesting readings from the human ship, Captain. Some sections still have power, very weak but present." This was unusual. Most ships in the debris field had been dead for centuries. Elena felt a small thrill of excitement. Maybe they would find something valuable after all. "Prepare a boarding party," she said. "Dr. Thompson, you're with me. Ryan, you and Lisa come too. Full environmental suits." An hour later, the small team floated through the airlock of the destroyed human ship. Their suit lights cut through the darkness of the abandoned corridors. The ship had been a military vessel, that much was clear. Blast marks scarred the walls, and the smell of old smoke still lingered in the recycled air. "This way," Dr. Thompson said, following his scanner. "The power readings are coming from the lower decks." They made their way through twisted hallways and past rooms filled with broken equipment. Elena tried not to think about the people who had died here. The final battle for Earth had been brutal. The humans had fought to the last man, woman, and child. "Here," Dr. Thompson said, stopping, in front of a section of collapsed wall. "Behind this debris. The power source is definitely back there. It took them 20 minutes to clear the wreckage." When they finally broke through, Elena's breath caught in her throat. Behind the collapsed wall was a small room, perfectly preserved. And in the center of that room was a cryogenic chamber, its status lights still blinking green. "No way," Ryan whispered. "That thing's been running for 300 years? Dr. Thompson ran his scanner over the chamber. "The power cell is nearly dead, but it's still functional. Someone's inside." Elena moved closer to the chamber's window. Through the frosted glass, she could see the outline of a human figure. A man, tall and muscular, floating in the cryo fluid. A nameplate on the chamber read, "Lieutenant Commander Jake Sullivan, Project Titan." "Project Titan?" Lisa asked. "I've never heard of that." "It's classified," Elena said quietly. "Or it was. One of the last military projects before Earth fell. They were trying to create enhanced soldiers." Dr. Thompson was studying his readings. "Captain, this man's vital signs are ... unusual. His bone density is 3 times normal human levels. His muscle mass readings are off the charts. Is he alive?" Elena asked. "Very much so. But Captain, I don't think we should wake him up. The power levels needed to revive someone from cryo sleep this old. The risks ... double quotes." Elena looked at the chamber again. Inside was a human from the height of their civilization when they had been a major power in the galaxy. The Coalition's human population was small and scattered. They had lost so much knowledge, so much technology. This man might have answers. "Dr. Zakth," Elena said into her communicator. I need you to run a full analysis of this cryo chamber. Can we safely transfer it to the Aurora? The Cathaverse voice clicked through the radio. Possible, Captain. But the power requirements to maintain the system during transfer will be significant. Back on the Aurora, the debate went on for hours. Some crew members wanted to leave the chamber where it was. Others argued that they had a duty to save the man inside. The ship's AI, a calm voice called Central, warned about the risks of reviving someone after so long in cryosleep. His neural patterns show signs of enhancement, Central reported. This individual was subjected to significant biological modifications. The extent of these changes is unknown. Elena stood in her ready room, looking out at the debris field. She thought about the stories her grandmother had told her about Earth, about the great human cities and the mighty fleets that had once protected the galaxy. All of that was gone now. We're bringing him aboard, she decided. If there's a chance, he can tell us something about the old technology, about what humanity was capable of. We have to try. The transfer took 6 hours. The Aurora's engineering crew worked carefully to move the cryo chamber to the ship's medical bay. Dr. Chung prepared her equipment, running diagnostics on systems she had never used before. The revival process will take at least 18 hours, she told Elena. His body has been in suspended animation for 3 centuries. We have to bring him back slowly. Elena nodded. Do it. As the Aurora left the debris field behind, the cryo chamber began its slow work. Inside, Lieutenant Commander Jake Sullivan slept on, unaware that he was about to wake up in a galaxy that had forgotten what humans were truly capable of. The chamber's computers began flooding his system with stimulants and revival drugs. His heart rate increased. His brain activity spiked. Somewhere in the depths of his enhanced mind, Jake Sullivan began to dream of the war he had been fighting when the world ended on the bridge. Elena watched the stars and wondered what they had found. The Coalition needed heroes. The galaxy was full of pirates, slavers, and worse. Maybe this sleeping soldier could help. Maybe he could remind the universe why humanity had once been feared across the stars. But deep in the medical bay, the monitor showed readings that made Dr. Chang frown. Jake Sullivan's vital signs were far beyond normal human parameters. His muscle density was impossible. His bone structure had been completely redesigned. Whatever Project Titan had done to him, it had changed him into something more than human. The revival process continued, and Jake Sullivan began his long journey back to consciousness. When he woke up, he would find a galaxy that had moved on without humanity. He would discover that Earth was gone, that his people were scattered and few, but the galaxy would also discover something else. It would learn that some things were too dangerous to kill completely. And it would remember why, 300 years ago, the very mention of human super soldiers had made entire star systems surrender without a fight. The chamber's lights pulsed green, and Jake Sullivan's eyes began to twitch behind his closed lids. He was almost awake. The revival process took 18 hours. Dr. Lisa Chang stayed in the medical bay the entire time, watching the monitors and adjusting the treatment as needed. She had never brought someone back from cryosleep who had been frozen for 3 centuries. The textbook said it was impossible. The human body couldn't survive that long, but Jake Sullivan's body was not normal. His heart was larger than it should be. His bones were denser than steel. His muscles showed a structure that Dr. Chang had never seen before. Whatever Project Titan had done to him, it had completely rebuilt him from the inside out. Captain, Dr. Chang called over the communicator. You need to see this. Elena arrived in the medical bay just as Jake's eyes began to open. They were blue, clear, and immediately alert. There was no confusion, no slow awakening. One moment he was unconscious. The next he was fully awake and scanning the room. Status report, Jake said, his voice strong and clear. How long was I out? Where's my unit? Elena stepped forward carefully. Something about Jake made her nervous, though she couldn't say why. He was still lying in the medical bed, but she felt like she was facing a dangerous predator. Lieutenant Commander Sullivan, she said. I'm Captain Elena Rodriguez. You've been in cryosleep for 300 years. Jake's eyes fixed on her. For a moment, his face showed no emotion. Then he sat up in bed, moving with fluid grace that seemed too easy for someone who had just been revived. 300 years, he repeated. The war with the Vrak Empire. Did we win? Elena's heart sank. This was the hard part. No, Earth fell. The human fleet was destroyed. There are only a few thousand humans left in the galaxy now. Jake processed this information with military efficiency. His jaw tightened slightly, but he showed no other reaction. My family? Gone, I'm sorry, Jake nodded once. Understood. What's the current tactical situation? Elena found herself answering before she realized it. There was something about Jake's presence that made her want to follow his lead. The Galactic Coalition is fighting pirate fleets and slavers. We're on a research mission, looking for old technology. Good, I can help with that. Jake swung his legs over the side of the bed. I need a uniform and a weapon. Wait, Dr. Chang said. I need to run some tests first. You've been in cryo for 3 centuries. Your body needs time to adjust. Jake looked at her with mild curiosity. Doctor, I feel fine. Better than fine, actually. He stood up, and Elena noticed that he moved with perfect balance despite having been unconscious for hours. Please, Dr. Chang insisted. Just a few basic tests, Jake shrugged, if you insist. The first test was a simple reflex check. Dr. Chang tapped Jake's knee with a small hammer. His leg kicked out so fast that it bent the metal examination table. Sorry, Jake said, looking at the damage. I forgot to hold back. The next test was grip strength. Jake squeezed the measurement device gently, or what he thought was gently. The machine sparked and died, its display showing error messages. Dr. Chang said nervously. Let's try something else. She led Jake to the ship's small gym. The exercise equipment was designed for use by all the different alien species on board. It was built to handle beings much stronger than normal humans. Just do a few push-ups, Dr. Chang said. I want to check your muscle response. Jake dropped to the floor and began doing push-ups. At first it looked normal. Then Dr. Chang noticed that the deck plating was bending slightly under his hands. She counted 20, then 50, then 100. Jake wasn't even breathing hard. That's enough, she said quickly. Jake stood up, leaving 2 hand-shaped dents in the metal floor. Was that good? Dr. Chang stared at the damage. Jake, how much? Do you remember about Project Titan? Everything, Jake said. They enhanced us to fight the Vrak, made us stronger, faster, more durable. The process was supposed to give us a chance against their war machines. How much stronger? Jake thought for a moment. I could lift about 50 tons, last time I checked, maybe more now. The enhancements were designed to continue improving over time. Dr. Chang's hands shook as she wrote notes, 50 tons. That was more than the ship's loading equipment could handle. What about speed? She asked. Fast enough to dodge laser fire, if I had to. Elena, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped forward. Jake, I need to ask you something. Are there others like you? 12 of us in total. We were the first and only successful batch. The others were supposed to be launched in separate cryopods when Earth fell. Jake's expression darkened. Are you telling me I'm the only one who made it? We don't know, Elena said honestly. You're the first we've found. Jake walked to the gym's small window and looked out at the stars. Elena noticed that his footsteps left small cracks in the deck plating. Everything about him was heavier, denser, more solid than a normal human should be. This ship, Jake said. It's coalition? Yes, humans, Zentarians, Kethver Dalit. We work together now. Good. Unity was always our strength. Jake turned back to them. I want to help. What do you need? Before Elena could answer, the ship's alarm began blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. Captain to the bridge, came Ryan's voice over the communicator. We've got a problem. Elena ran for the bridge, with Jake following behind her. Dr. Chang tried to keep up, but Jake moved through the corridors with inhuman grace, never seeming to hurry but somehow keeping pace with Elena's sprint. On the bridge, Ryan was bent over his instruments. 3 ships, Captain. They jumped out of hyperspace right on top of us. Configuration matches Skreth pirates, Elena cursed. The Skreth were some of the worst pirates in the galaxy. They specialized in taking ships intact, selling the crews as slaves. How long until they reach us? Elena asked. 10 minutes. Their ships are faster than ours. Elena looked at her options. The Aurora was a research vessel, not a warship. They had some defensive weapons, but nothing that could handle 3 pirate ships. Captain, Jake said quietly, I can help. Jake, you just woke up. You don't even have a weapon. Jake smiled, and Elena felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the expression of a predator who had just spotted prey. I don't need a weapon, Jake said. I am a weapon. What do you mean? Give me an EVA suit. I'll handle the pirates. Elena stared at him. Jake, that's suicide. You can't fight 3 ships by yourself. Captain, with respect, you don't understand what Project Titan created. We weren't just enhanced soldiers. We were built to be living weapons of mass destruction. 3 pirate ships is a light workout. Before Elena could respond, the ship shuddered as the pirates opened fire. The Aurora's shields flared and held, but they wouldn't last long. Decision time, Captain, Jake said. Let me do what I was made for, or watch your crew get sold into slavery. Elena looked at her crew, then at Jake. There was something in his eyes that made her believe him. Something that said he had done this before, many times. Get him a suit, she ordered Dot as Jake headed for the airlock. Elena wondered what she had. Just unleashed. Project Titan had created 12 enhanced humans to fight a war. Now she was about to find out what just one of them could do against 3 ships full of pirates. The Aurora shuddered again under enemy fire, and Elena realized they were about to get their answer. Jake moved through the Aurora's corridors toward the airlock with smooth, purposeful steps. The ship shook again as the pirates fired their weapons. Emergency lights flashed red, and the crew ran to their battle stations. This is crazy, Doctor, Chang said, following Jake. You can't survive in space without a ship. Even with an EVA suit, you'll freeze or suffocate. Jake pulled on the environmental suit, checking the seals. Doctor, my body temperature runs 20 degrees higher than normal. My lungs can hold oxygen for 40 minutes. And I don't feel cold the way other people do. Elena's voice came over the communicator. Jake, the pirates are 2 minutes out. If you're going to do this, do it now. Jake sealed his helmet and moved to the airlock. Through the small window, he could see the 3 pirate ships approaching. They were ugly vessels, built for speed and intimidation. Weapon ports glowed along their hulls. Captain, Jake said into his radio, when I leave the ship, shut down your engines and drift. Make them think you're disabled. It'll draw them closer. Jake, wait, Elena said. How are you going to get to their ships? You can't fly. I don't need to fly. I just need to jump. Before anyone could respond, Jake opened the airlock and stepped into space. The vacuum didn't seem to bother him. He hung in the darkness for a moment, studying the approaching ships on the Aurora's bridge. Elena watched in horror as Jake simply launched himself toward the nearest pirate vessel. He didn't use any kind of propulsion system. He just kicked off from the Aurora's hull and flew through space like a missile. How fast is he moving? Elena asked. Ryan checked his instruments. Faster than our sensors can accurately track? He's going to hit that ship in 30 seconds. The pirate ships noticed Jake at the last moment. Their weapons turned toward him, firing laser beams and plasma bolts. Jake twisted in space, dodging the attacks with movements that seemed impossible. He was changing direction in vacuum, using tiny adjustments of his body position to avoid the weapon's fire. He's like a dancer, Dr. Chung whispered. How is he doing that? Jake hit the first pirate ship with the force of a small meteor. The impact sent shock waves through the vessel's hull. Instead of bouncing off, Jake grabbed onto the ship's armor plating and began tearing it away with his bare hands. He's ripping through their hull, Ryan reported. Their sensors are going crazy. They don't know what's happening. Inside the pirate ship, alarms screamed as the hull began to buckle. The crew, a mix of reptilian Skreth and human criminals, scrambled to understand what was attacking them. Captain, one of them called out. Something's tearing through Deck 7. It's coming this way. The pirate captain, a scarred screth named Voss, snarled orders. Send the combat drones. Kill whatever it is. But the drones never had a chance. Jake moved through the ship's corridors like a force of nature. He was no longer the polite, controlled man who had awakened on the Aurora. This was Jake Sullivan in combat mode, and he was terrifying. The first drone that found him fired a plasma burst that would have killed any normal human. Jake caught the energy bolt with his bare hand, absorbed it, and threw it back. The drone exploded. 2 more drones came around the corner, firing everything they had. Jake moved faster than their targeting systems could follow. He was behind them before they knew he had moved. 2 quick strikes and both drones were scrap metal. Where is he now? Voss demanded. Deck 5. He's heading for the bridge. Lock down the corridors, seal the blast doors. The pirates sealed every door between Jake and the bridge. It didn't matter. Jake simply punched through the reinforced steel barriers like they were made of paper. Each door that tried to stop him was reduced to twisted metal. On the Aurora, the crew watched the pirate ship's lights flicker and die. Their main power just went out, Ryan said. He's taken out their entire electrical system. Elena shook her head in amazement. One man did that. The second pirate ship tried to help its companion. It fired missiles at Jake, not caring that they might hit their own people. Jake saw the missiles coming and did something that made Elena's jaw drop. He caught one of the missiles in mid-flight and threw it back at the ship that had fired it. The missile struck the second ship's engine section. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. 2 down. Jake's voice came over the radio. He sounded calm, almost bored, working on the third. The third pirate ship's captain had seen enough. He tried to run, pushing his engines to maximum power, but Jake was already in motion. He kicked off from the first ship's hull and flew through space toward the fleeing vessel. This time, Jake didn't bother with the hull. He aimed for the ship's engine section and hit it with the force of a bomb. The entire back half of the ship crumpled like a tin can. The pirates inside were thrown around like toys. Jake tore through the engine room, systematically destroying everything he could find. Plasma conduits, power couplings, fuel lines, all of it was reduced to junk in minutes. Engine room to bridge, came a panicked voice over the ship's communication system. We're losing everything. The reactor is going critical. Jake's voice cut through the chaos. This is Lieutenant Commander Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. You have 1 minute to surrender before I destroy your ship completely. The pirate captain, a human named Cross, laughed bitterly. Earth Defense Force? Earth's been dead for 300 years. Earth is gone, Jake replied. I'm not. Cross looked at his crew, then at the damage reports flooding his screens. His ship was already destroyed. His weapons were offline. His engines were dead. We surrender, Cross said. Jake's voice was cold and professional. All crew members report to the cargo bay. Move slowly. Keep your hands visible. Any sudden movements and I'll consider it hostile action. Within minutes, the entire pirate crew was herded into their ship's cargo bay. Jake stood guard over them, still in his EVA suit, looking like some kind of space demon. Aurora, this is Jake. 3 ships neutralized. Requesting pickup. Elena's voice came back shaky. Jake, how do we pick you up? You're floating in space. I'll meet you halfway. Jake simply pushed off from the pirate ship and flew through space toward the Aurora. He moved with the same impossible grace he had shown in combat, covering the distance in seconds. When he reached the Aurora's airlock, he landed on the hull as gently as a feather. The crew in the docking bay could only stare as he walked through the airlock like nothing had happened. Mission accomplished, Jake said, removing his helmet. 3 ships captured, crews taken prisoner, no casualties on our side. Dr. Chung ran a medical scanner over him. Jake, your body temperature is off the charts, your heart rate is barely elevated. You just fought 3 ships single-handedly and you're not even tired? Jake shrugged. Like I said, light workout. Elena looked at the tactical display. 3 pirate ships, each one capable of destroying the Aurora, had been defeated by 1 man in less than 20 minutes. Jake, she said slowly, what else can you do? Jake considered the question. I've never really tested my limits, Captain. Project Titan enhanced us to fight the Vrak Empire. Their warriors were tough, but they were still biological. I was designed to be able to take on their entire army if necessary. Their entire army? Well, maybe not their entire army, but a few thousand soldiers wouldn't be a problem. Elena felt a chill. If Jake was this powerful, what had the other 11 Project Titan soldiers been like? And if they had been this strong, how had Earth still fallen? Jake, she said, I need to ask you something. If you were this powerful, if all 12 of you were this strong, how did humanity lose the war? Jake's expression darkened. Because we were too strong, Captain. The human government was afraid of us. They thought we might turn on them after the war ended. So they used us carefully, sparingly. They never let us fight at full strength. And now? Jake looked out at the stars, at the galaxy that had forgotten what humans were capable of. Now I don't have anyone telling me to hold back. 3 days after the pirate attack, life aboard the Aurora had become very different. Jake Sullivan tried to live normally among the crew, but his presence changed everything. When he walked through the corridors, the deck plates groaned under his weight. When he sat in a chair, he had to be careful not to crush it. When he ate in the mess hall, he consumed enough food for 5 people. Dr. Chang studied him constantly, trying to understand what Project Titan had done to him, his body. Temperature stayed 20 degrees above normal. His heart beat only 40 times per minute, but each beat was incredibly powerful. His bones were denser than steel, and his muscles had been completely rebuilt. Jake, she said during one of their sessions, your body is consuming enormous amounts of energy. You're eating 6,000 calories a day and you're still losing? Wait, Jake shrugged. The enhancements require fuel. During combat, I burn through energy even faster. That's why they gave us enhanced digestive systems too. What happens if you don't get enough food? I get hungry, Jake said simply. Very hungry. And when I'm hungry, I'm not as controlled, Dr. Chang made notes. She was beginning to understand that Jake wasn't just a strong human. He was something entirely different, something that had been built for war and destruction. The real problem started when Jake began helping around the ship. He offered to help with repairs, but his hands were too strong. He bent tools without meaning to. He cracked pipes when he tried to tighten them. He left fingerprints in metal walls. I'm sorry, he told Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez after accidentally crushing a wrench. I forget how fragile everything is. Bobby looked at the twisted metal in Jake's hand. How do you forget something like that? When you're fighting for your life, you don't think about being gentle, Jake replied. You just react. The crew was beginning to understand that Jake's mind worked differently too. He noticed things that others missed. He could hear conversations through walls. He could smell fear and anxiety. His enhanced senses picked up every detail around him. Jake, Elena said one morning, you're making the crew nervous. They were in her ready room sharing coffee. Jake had to hold his cup very carefully to avoid breaking it. I know, Jake said. I can smell their fear. I can hear their hearts beating faster when I'm around. I don't blame them. It's not fear exactly, Elena said. It's more like ... they don't know what to do with you. You're not quite human anymore. Jake was quiet for a moment. The doctors who created us warned us about this. They said we might have trouble relating to normal humans after the enhancement. We were supposed to work in teams, support each other. What happened to the others? I don't know. When Earth fell, we were separated. Each of us was put in a different cryopod and launched toward a different sector. The idea was that, if humanity survived, we could find each other again. Elena sipped her coffee, thinking, Jake, what was it like, being enhanced? Painful, Jake said without hesitation. They rebuilt us from the inside out, replaced our bones, restructured our muscles, enhanced our nervous systems. The process took months. Many people died during the enhancement, but you survived. 12 of us did. We became something new, something that could fight the Vrak Empire on equal terms. Elena leaned forward. Jake, I need to know something. Are you still human? Jake looked at her with those two bright blue eyes. I don't know, Captain. I think like a human. I feel like a human, but I'm not sure that's enough. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's alarm. Elena ran to the bridge with Jake following behind her. The crew was already at their stations, faces tense with worry. Captain, Ryan called out, we're getting a distress signal. A civilian transport is under attack about 2 hours from here. Elena looked at the tactical display. The transport was a refugee ship carrying families from the outer colonies. It was being attacked by a full squadron of Vrak raiders? Vrak? Jake asked, his voice suddenly dangerous. Yes, they're not supposed to be in this sector. Jake's entire demeanor changed, his hands clenched into fists. His eyes grew cold and hard. Captain, we need to help them. Jake, it's a full squadron, 8 ships. Even with your abilities, that's too many. No, Jake said firmly. Not for what I was designed to do, Elena hesitated. She had seen what Jake could do against 3 pirate ships. But the Vrak were different. They were the enemy that had destroyed Earth, killed billions of humans. They were heavily armed and experienced in combat. Captain, Dr. Chang said over the communicator, I'm reading Jake's vitals. His adrenaline levels are through the roof. His body temperature is rising. Elena looked at Jake. His entire body was tense, ready for action. She could see the predator in his eyes, the weapon that Project Titan had created. Captain, Jake said quietly, those people are going to die if we don't help them. The Vrak don't take prisoners, they kill everyone. Elena made her decision. Set course for the transport, maximum speed. The Aurora raced through space toward the battle. When they arrived, the scene was terrible. The refugee transport was crippled, its engines dead. The Vrak ships circled it like sharks, firing at the helpless vessel. They're trying to disable it completely, Ryan reported. Then they'll board and kill everyone inside. Jake was already moving toward the airlock. Captain, I need you to get close to their formation, as close as you can. Jake, wait, Elena. Side, 8 ships. That's not 3 pirates. These are Vrak warriors. Jake stopped and looked at her. Captain, the Vrak killed my world. They destroyed my people. They're about to kill more innocent humans. His voice was ice cold. I've been waiting 300 years for another chance at them. Elena nodded. Do it. Jake suited up and moved to the airlock, but this time he took weapons with him. He strapped on every explosive device the Aurora carried, every grenade, every weapon he could find. Jake, Dr. Chang said, what are you doing? I'm going to show the Vrak what happens. When you mess with humans, Jake replied. He launched himself into space, but this time he moved differently. He wasn't just flying toward one ship. He was calculating angles, trajectories, using the Vrak ship's own formations against them. The first Vrak ship never saw him coming. Jake hit it from below, tearing through its hull like paper. But instead of staying to fight, he planted explosives throughout the ship and moved on to the next one. The second ship tried to shoot him, but Jake was already gone. He moved from ship to ship, too fast for their weapons to track. Each time he left behind explosives and death. He's not fighting them, Ryan said in amazement. He's hunting them. Jake's voice came over the radio, calm and professional. Aurora, you might want to move back. This is going to be loud. 8 explosions lit up space at once. The entire Vrak squadron was destroyed in seconds. Jake had turned them into floating debris. Jake, Elena called, are you all right? Jake's voice came back tired but satisfied. I'm fine, Captain. The refugees are safe. The Vrak are dead. When Jake returned to the Aurora, he was different. The cold killing machine was gone. He was human again, exhausted and a little sad. Jake, Elena said, what you did out there, that was incredible. That was what I was made for, Jake replied. To kill Vrak, to protect humans, it's what I do. Dr. Chang ran her medical scanner over him. Jake, your body is shutting down. You used too much energy. I'll be fine, Jake said. I just need food and rest, but Elena could see the truth. Jake was powerful beyond imagination, but that power came with a price. Each time he used his abilities, he pushed his body to its limits. He was burning himself out. "Jake," she said, "we need to find the others, the other Project Titan soldiers." "You can't do this alone," Jake nodded. "I know. But until we find them, I'm all humanity has." He walked away, leaving Elena to wonder what. They had awakened. Jake Sullivan was a weapon of incredible power, but he was also a man carrying the weight of an entire species on his shoulders, and somewhere in the galaxy, 11 other enhanced humans waited to be found. 2 weeks after the battle with the Vrak Squadron, the Aurora received an unexpected visitor. Admiral Vexstar of the Zentarian Defense Corps arrived in a massive warship, bringing with him a squad of the galaxy's finest warriors and a proposal. That would change everything. Elena met the Admiral in the Aurora's main conference room. Vexstar was tall and blue-skinned, with 4 powerful arms and the bearing of a career military officer. He had heard about Jake Sullivan and wanted to see this legendary human warrior for himself. "Captain Rodriguez," Admiral Vexstar said, "the reports of your humans' abilities seem impossible. No single being could destroy 8 Vrak ships. I have the recordings if you want to see them." Elena replied. Jake entered the conference room at that moment, and Admiral Vexstar's 4 eyes widened slightly. Even at rest, Jake radiated power. The way he moved, the way he carried himself, everything about him suggested barely controlled violence. "Lieutenant Commander Sullivan," Admiral Vexstar said. "I am Admiral Vexstar. I've come to make you a offer." Jake nodded respectfully. "Admiral, the Coalition needs warriors like you. We're losing the war against the pirates and slavers. Our forces are spread too thin across the galaxy. But with your abilities, you could make a real difference." "What kind of difference?" Jake asked. Admiral Vexstar activated a holographic display showing star maps and battle reports. "Strike missions, rescue operations, taking out targets that our regular forces can't handle? You would have unlimited authority to act in crisis situations." Jake studied the display. "You want me to be your special weapon. I want you to save lives," Admiral Vexstar said firmly. "There are millions of innocent people suffering while we debate tactics in committee meetings. You could help them." Elena watched Jake carefully. She could see him thinking, weighing the options. "What about finding the other Project Titan soldiers?" she asked. "That would be part of your mission," Admiral Vexstar said. "We have intelligence about possible cryopod locations. Your ship would be tasked with finding and reviving them." Jake was quiet for a long moment, then he spoke. "Admiral, before I agree to anything, I want you to understand what you're asking for. Project Titan didn't just make us stronger. It changed how we think, how we react to threats. We were designed to be weapons, not peacekeepers." "Explain." "When I see innocent people in danger, every instinct I have tells me to eliminate the threat completely. I don't arrest pirates, I destroy them. I don't negotiate with slavers, I kill them. If you want a soldier who follows rules and fills out paperwork, find someone else." Admiral Vexstar considered this. "Commander Sullivan, sometimes the galaxy needs someone who can cut through the politics and do what needs to be done." "Are you saying you can't control yourself?" "I'm saying I was built to win wars, not to play nice with criminals." Dr. Chang, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "Admiral, there's something else you should know. Jake's enhancements require enormous amounts of energy. Each time he uses his full abilities, he pushes his body to dangerous limits." "How dangerous?" Admiral Vexstar asked. "If he keeps fighting at this level without proper support, his enhanced systems could burn out. He needs specialized medical care, high-energy nutrition, and recovery time between missions." Jake shrugged. "Doctor, I'm not planning to live forever. I'm planning to make my life count." Admiral Vexstar nodded slowly. "Commander, what would you need to make this work?" Jake looked at Elena, then back at the Admiral. "I want Captain Rodriguez and her crew. They understand what I am. And I want complete authority over rescue and combat operations. No committees. No politics, no delays. Done?" Elena felt a chill. Admiral, with respect, you're talking about turning Jake into a one-man army with no oversight. Captain, Admiral Vexstar said, yesterday a slave convoy took 300 children from the Outer Rim colonies. Our nearest fleet is 6 days away. By the time they arrive, those children will be sold and scattered across the galaxy. But Commander Sullivan could reach them in 18 hours. Jake stood up. Where are they? Admiral Vexstar smiled grimly and handed Jake a datapad. The convoy is traveling through the Kesek Nebula. Heavily defended, at least 20 ships. Jake studied the information. 20 ships? How many children? 300, maybe more. Jake looked at Elena. Captain, how fast can the Aurora get? To the Kesek Nebula? 16 hours if we push the engines, Elena replied. Then we leave in 1 hour. Jake turned to Admiral Vexstar. Admiral, consider your offer accepted. But understand something. When I go after those slavers, I'm not bringing any of them back alive. Admiral Vexstar nodded. I wouldn't expect you to. As the Aurora prepared to leave, word spread quickly through the coalition networks. The legendary human warrior was officially joining the fight. For the first time in decades, there was hope that someone could strike back at the criminals who plagued the galaxy, but Jake had other plans beyond just fighting slavers. In his quarters, he studied the data Admiral Vexstar had given him about possible Project Titan survivor locations. 11 cryopods had been launched from Earth 300 years ago. If even half of them had survived, if even half could be revived, they could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Dr. Chang visited him before they jumped to hyperspace. Jake, are you sure about this? Once you start down this path, there's no going back. Doctor, when I was frozen, I was a soldier in a losing war. Now I'm awake in a galaxy where the strong prey on the weak and there's no one to stop them. Jake looked out his cabin window at the stars. Maybe I can't save everyone, but I can make the predators afraid. And if you find the others, the other Project Titan soldiers? Jake smiled grimly. Then the galaxy will remember why humans were once feared across the stars. The Aurora jumped to hyperspace, carrying them toward the slave convoy and the beginning of Jake's new war. As they traveled through the swirling energy of hyperspace, Elena wondered what she had helped unleash. On the bridge, Ryan was studying the tactical data about the slave convoy. Captain, 20 ships is a lot, even for Jake. I know, Elena said, but those are children. We have to try. In the ship's lab, Dr. Chang was preparing medical supplies for Jake's return. She knew he would be injured, probably badly. The human body, even an enhanced one, had limits. And in his quarters, Jake was preparing for battle. He checked his weapons, studied the convoy's formation, and planned his attack. This time would be different from the pirates or the Vrak squadron. This time, he wasn't just destroying enemy ships. He was saving lives. As the Aurora dropped out of hyperspace near the Kesek Nebula, Jake suited up for what might be his most important mission. 300 children were depending on him. The galaxy was watching to see what one enhanced human could do against impossible odds. Aurora, to all hands, Elena announced over the ship's communication system. We are approaching the target area. This is a rescue mission. Our priority is saving the children. Jake's voice came over the radio from the airlock. Captain, I'm ready to launch. Keep the Aurora safe. I'll handle the slavers. Elena watched as Jake launched himself into space, flying toward 20 ships that had no idea what was coming for them. The legendary Project Titan soldier was going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. Behind him, the Aurora followed. At a safe distance, ready to pick up survivors. Ahead of him, the slave convoy continued on its course, unaware that humanity's deadliest weapon was about to remind them why some species should never be underestimated. The war for the galaxies. Future had begun, and Jake Sullivan was leading the charge.